Hello everyone, my name is Jimmy and welcome to The Last Lap. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about everything we saw from Atlanta Motor Speedway. But before we hop into the video, just want to quickly remind you guys, hit that like button and subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it if you did that. And you can also check out our social media pages, those will be linked down below. But let's go ahead and hop into the video. Matthew, my friend and co-host, is joining me, and it was a crazy and wild weekend in Atlanta and actually mid-Ohio as well for the trucks. But Matthew has a feel to be back and talk about everything we saw this weekend.
Well, after a weekend that was at downtown Chicago, we go straight to the super speedway race in Atlanta, and man, this weekend did not disappoint, especially in the Cup side. I cannot wait to get right into it.
Yeah, it was a great couple races there in Atlanta. Quickly want to start off with the Xfinity race there. There was kind of a controversial move coming to the white flag. So John Hunter Nemechek, he ended up getting the win. But second place was Daniel Hemrick, and third place was Justin Haley, and they were right behind John Hunter Nemechek, and they are colleague teammates. And right after the start-finish line, Justin Haley decides to make a move to the left and try to pass his teammate for second place, and that stacks everybody up behind them. And John Hunter Nemechek, he's able to pull away and get the win. Daniel Hemrick, he was not happy from what I saw. I saw a few clips and pictures. Him and Justin Haley were talking it out on pit road. I don't really know what Justin Haley was thinking, to be honest. He's a Cup guy coming down. Obviously, I know he wants to win, but I think helping a teammate win and punch their ticket to the playoffs is a little bit more important than going for the win yourself. But that ended up happening there. As for the Cup Series, it was the Ford show for most of the day. Eric Almirola, he started on the pole. He stayed up front for a while. And then the Penske Fords, they made their way to the front. Blaney, Logano, Cindric. And then the RFK cars also made their way up to the front. Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher. Ryan Blaney was able to win stage one. The end of the stages for these super speedways, specifically at Atlanta, are quite crazy. But Ryan Blaney, he was able to pull it off with, I think I'm pretty sure it was the last lap pass. I think he passed Logano for the stage win. Tyler Reddick, he had a pretty nice save in the tri-oval going into turn one. He was trying to get back in line, and I think him and Almirola made contact. Tyler Reddick, heck of a save, able to keep it going. William Byron, Christopher Bell, and Denny Hamlin, they all went to the rear for penalties, and then William Byron ended up getting spun by Corey LaJoie shortly after that. Byron would go a lap down, but if you know the outcome of the race, he'd come back, get his lap back, and end up winning the race. And Erik Jones, I guess he decided to go full Ross Chastain mode this race because he had at least 3 incidents that we saw on the TV. First, he spun Kyle Larson. Larson got a little bit loose, and then Jones just kind of tapped him and kind of sent him around. Kyle Larson eventually ended up blowing a tire though, and that ended up ending his day. Erik Jones, he also squeezed Ty Gibbs into the wall off of turn 2, and then he spun Corey LaJoie and set off a crash that collected Martin Truex Jr., Ty Gibbs, Ross Chastain, Tyler Reddick, and a few other drivers. So I don't know what it was with Erik Jones. He was channeling his inner Ross Chastain. He was all over the place, got into several incidents on the track, but I don't know. It didn't work because he didn't end up getting the win. I guess he was trying to be aggressive because he knew he had a chance at winning, but it didn't work. The threat of weather, again, for the second week in a row, caused the racing to intensify, and at the front of the field, there was a great battle between the RFK cars and the Penske cars, just constant back and forth. The runs you get with these next-gen cars at Atlanta, at the super speedways, but Atlanta specifically, they come and go so fast. Like, you just get right up to the car behind you, and you can make a move, and you can kind of pull out a line, go 3 wide, pass them, and jump right back in line. Everybody's saying it's kind of like the old Daytona, not even just the old Daytona, the old Talladega too, I guess, how super speedway racing used to work in the 2000s, where they'd run single file or in a double file, and you'd get a run and just kind of pass them one at a time as you work your way through the field. But Alex Bowman ended up getting into Denny Hamlin, and they both spun out. That ended the second stage, and Brad Keselowski ended up winning that. And at this point, it was all the teams were trying to strategize when the rain would get there, when to pit, when to stay out. So Brad Keselowski won the stage, but he was very close to the end on fuel. He was about to run out. They were like, do we pit? Do we stay out? When's the rain going to come? When's NASCAR going to call this thing? So he ended up pitting, and then some cars stayed out, like A.J. Allmendinger, Michael McDowell, Eric Jones, William Byron, Daniel Suarez. Drivers like that stayed out, and then Brad Keselowski, Ryan Blaney, and a few other drivers ended up pitting for tires and fuel. And William Byron ended up getting to the lead, and then a caution ended up coming out for Stenhouse getting into the back of Ryan Preece. That collected Bubba Wallace, and the caution came out for that. And then shortly after that, the red flag came out, and the race was over due to rain, and William Byron ended up getting the win. So let's quickly go over the results. They will be on the screen for you guys. Shout out to AJ Allmendinger for getting a top 5 in the Kaulig car. Always love seeing him run up front. Keselowski was able to get back up to 6th after pitting for tires and fuel. JJ Yeley, top 10 in a RWR car. Congrats to him. Justin Haley, top 10 as well. And Ryan Blaney, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., that rounds out the top 10 for you guys. And I'm going to circle back to William Byron really quick. Huge comeback for him after being spun out. A little bit of damage, going a lap down, getting back on the lead lap, winning the race. This man over here, and when he spun out the first time, he's like, oh my gosh, here comes the William Byron summer slump. And then he just turns it around. And yes, it may have been a little lucky, but that's super speedway racing. Whether he won the race or didn't win the race, I wouldn't even count it for momentum because these races are mostly luck anyways. But yeah, anyways, I think so. The racing was good when they would get double file. It seemed like both lanes could kind of get moving compared to the past few Atlanta races where it seemed like it was just the top lane that would get moving. So it looks like both, you could pass on the bottom, pass on the top. Each one could kind of keep their momentum and stay up front. Was this the best racing on a super speedway this year? I would almost have to say yes. Just because we could see guys make a third lane by themselves, like Martin Truex Jr., he went up all the way to the wall and passed like 6 cars in 2 laps. And at Daytona or Talladega, you cannot do that, especially by yourself. But I do think the threat of the rain did help the racing intensify because drivers weren't sure when the caution was going to come out. They weren't sure when the rain was going to get there. So I do think that did help out the racing be a better product. But when they were side by side, it was great racing. Stage 1, it was a little bit single file. They got single file for a little bit, but right when the first stage was ending, they would get kind of crazy and try to race for the stage win and stuff like that. And the other thing is, did NASCAR stop this race too early? Every rain type of event, I think NASCAR has been a little hesitant to push the boundaries a little bit since the Daytona massacre last year in the summer when they sailed it off in turn 1 and it started pouring and the whole field got wiped out. So I know they did a lot of pace laps under caution. I don't know how many specifically, but they probably could have got the race going for a few more laps. But like, you just can't predict. Like, it could sprinkle for the rain could come in sprinkles or it could come in a downpour, and you just can't predict that. You don't know what's going to happen. So I feel like NASCAR did make the right call. The cautious call, I think, is the safe call here. You don't want the cars just sailing it off into the corner and then it start pouring and wipe everybody out. As entertaining as that would be, as chaotic as that would be, all the chaos was last week at Chicago Street Course. That's fine. That I was expecting it for that. But for a normal NASCAR race at an oval, I don't think we need to be taking those kind of chances, just sending it off, hoping and praying that it's just a sprinkle for a few minutes and then taking the chance that it doesn't downpour. But anyways, I think that's pretty much it for all I have to talk about for the race. It was a good race. I always love super speedway racing, but that's pretty much going to wrap it up for me. I'm going to toss it over to Matthew to see what he has to say about what he saw. So, Matthew, go ahead and share with the people your thoughts about what we saw at Atlanta.
Alright, so before I get into the amazing race that was the Cup Series, I want to talk about the Xfinity move, that last lap, which absolutely drove me crazy when I saw that live. I was texting you this. I was literally quoting Kyle Busch. What was it, like the Clash a few years ago when he was like, if you pass someone, you eliminate your tire shot to win. You can't be that stupid. Well, that's basically what Justin Haley did. I mean, I don't understand that last lap move. I mean, John Hunter Nemechek had a big gap. That was literally Colin Grayson's chance to get the win. And then you just, hey, I'm going to pass my teammate and just let John Hunter Nemechek have the win. Why not? That literally drove me crazy. And I have literally no idea what Justin Haley was thinking there. But, yeah, I don't blame him or one bit for being mad at him because that was literally the win right there. So that literally drove me crazy. I can't stand these super speedway races where they literally don't push someone to give them a chance of the win. They just basically let the guy who's already in the lead have the win already. Have the win basically gift wrapped it. So that drove me nuts. The truck race in Mid Ohio was an absolute slugfest. It seemed like every 3 to 5 laps there was a caution. Um, and then the ARCA race, this 16-year-old kid that was in the field just does the stupidest thing I've ever seen, taking out a teammate on the last lap. Now this kid's very lucky that the teammate is not a full-time ARCA driver, which was Dean Thompson. He's a full-time Truck Series driver, so Dean Thompson probably wasn't taking it that seriously. Well, that kid was lucky he didn't get his butt beat there because that was ridiculous. Um, Apparently Arca did suspended him, so good call because that was an absolute bonehead move. I don't care if it's a road course or a mile and a half. Come on, that was just ridiculous. All right, let's get to the and I don't know who the kid's actual name is. I don't watch Arca that much, so forgive me there. All right, now on to the Cup race. Um, what an amazing race it was. I mean, of course, the amazing racing had to do with the rain coming, which did play a factor. But man, that was still some of the most amazing super speedway racing I've ever seen with this next gen car so far. I saw the Daytona 500 there, and man, you can definitely tell Atlanta, even though it's a smaller than Daytona, you can definitely see there was a lot more passing opportunities than Daytona was or Talladega. I mean, there was literally Martin Truex Jr. by himself making it work on the very high line, 3 wide, and he was passing cars without any help. I mean, that was amazing. And man, um, first and William Byron, amazing recovery from the spin to able to, with the help of the strategy and the rain, was able to get him back up front. Even I was pulling so hard though for Suarez or Allmendinger to get to him because I would love to see the playoffs shake up. Even though even after this race, the playoffs are shaking up even more. So we'll get into that. But congratulations to William Byron. Of course, he went to the same college as I did, and that's kind of personal to me. So huge congrats to him. Um, I mean, of course, Daniel Suarez, he came also close to the Allmendinger. But pretty much the show was basically the Penske versus RFK. Well, mostly it was Cindric, Blaney, and Keselowski and Buescher, basically, going back and forth there. And I mean, it's kind of ironic since Brad was, of course, a Penske driver, and he was at times battling against his old ride, basically. So that was. I mean, the battles were so intense. I literally thought they're gonna wreck every lap. That's what I thought. But I mean, credits to them. There wasn't a huge 20 car pileup. So I mean, that was just amazing racing. And yeah, I don't really have much to say other than JJ Yaley is the goat, top 10. And Yeah, let's get ready for New Hampshire now.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. We both don't really have much to say besides it was a good race, and I guess that's not really a bad thing to do. Just say it was a great race. So, I am going to quickly go over the playoff standings real quick. Those would be on the screen for you guys, and the cut line is very, very close. I believe Daniel Suarez and Michael McDowell were both outside the cut line going into this race, and now they are in. They are both +3 above the cut line. Then you got Bubba Wallace, who dropped below the cut line to -3. AJ Allmendinger also below the cut line, -13. Ty Gibbs, I think, had the biggest hit. He's now -26. I know he was in the above the cut line before this race. You got Austin Ceric down there as well. Justin Haley, Alex Bowman, Chase Elliott. I don't even know if Chase Elliott can still I'm sure he can probably still technically point his way in, but I don't know. I still think he's probably just gonna have to win. But yeah, that's the playoff cut line for you guys right there. Let's go ahead and rate this race. For me, I think, man, I think I have to give this like I'll give it a 9 out of 10. And kind of the same reason as last week. I'm probably not going to give it a 10 out of 10 just because it was shortened by rain and all of that stuff. It sucks that this is the second week in a row where rain has played a factor in the outcome. Well, last week is technically darkness, but the rain still pushed it back. But the rain, unfortunately, 2 weeks in a row has a factor in this race. So I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Matthew, what are you going to rate the race?
I'm gonna give it a 8 out of 10, mostly just because the rain did. I mean, the race did end shortly because of the rain, which I mean that. I mean, we knew it was coming, but fortunately, who knows what the finish was going to be like. So I'll have to give it 8 out of 10, but still amazing racing, amazing super speedway racing, and man, I think Atlanta and SMI made the right decision with that reconfiguration.
Yeah, Dale Jr., I think he put out a tweet saying something like, "Is Atlanta the new hot ticket to go to?" I mean, I'm sold. I want to go to Atlanta now. Maybe we should go to Atlanta sometime. But I think it'd be a lot of fun.
You're not dragging me to Dawsonville. You're not going to do that.
You can stay at the hotel. I'll go there and I'll tour everything myself.
Yep, then I'll go to the Did you know Chases from Georgia 400 at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Anyways, for the racing, I think it'll be worth the trip down there. But as for our fantasy points, I actually got more points than you for once in a week. I got 86 more points than you this week, so I was able to cut the gap just a tiny bit, but you are still ahead. Our total points will be on the screen. You have 3,564. I have 3,351. That is a 213 point gap, but I'm just glad I finally beat you 1 week and closed the gap just a tiny bit. But that's pretty much it. Matthew, do you have any other closing thoughts before we go ahead and finish this video up?
Let's see. Oh yeah, I find it funny when this whole Atlanta reconfiguration once. You know what everyone's reaction was? A bunch of crying as always. How it was gonna be trash. How it was gonna be ruin Atlanta forever. Well, I hate to break it to you, but ever since this reconfiguration has happened, not only more people have gone since the reconfiguration, the ratings have also gone up. And apparently, it seems like a lot of people now are starting to like it now. So, kind of ironic that once again, all the crying was for no reason, just like the whole Chicago street thing last weekend. So, that's why when something is announced, we just tune out those bums over there because they know the only thing they like to do is cry about everything. So, yeah, that's another change to the schedule where it actually worked out again.
Love a nice little rant from Matthew to go ahead and end the video. But I do think like this should be the only mile and a half converted to a super speedway like this. Like we don't need a super speedway every week. The mile and a half package is great. It tracks like Charlotte and Kansas and all that,
Except Texas. Except Texas.
but it is good at Atlanta. So props to NASCAR and Atlanta Motor Speedway and all them for doing that and executing it and pretty much turning it into a super speedway. But that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel for more NASCAR content. And you could follow both Matthew and I on social media. Those links will be down below. But New Hampshire's next week. Excited for that. But until the next time, we'll see you guys in the next video.